All right. Today is International Podcasters Day. I'm going to say that again. Today is International Podcasters Day. Go global, like we have to think about it and really think about how we can do that, connecting the dots, building the dots, creating all those things and building it. you know this is something that you have to decide. How can you do this? Why are you doing this? And where are you doing this for what reason? Right? So this is something that I think we want us to look at, on a normal, long-term day. We want to be able to know exactly, okay, how are these things being done? What's the history of it? Right? Where are we creating content from this, and what is the focus? Why are we celebrating this day, especially in 2024? Right? We think about these days and we're like, okay, huh, what is podcasting all about? We talk about podcasting, we talk about what it is, and what exactly is the intention, right? And that's something that I've been looking through, and I was like, I think if this is the beginning of something great, then we would also need to think about like what this means for people, right? And what it means when it comes to connecting the dots, letting people know, okay, this is podcasting in its very simple sense. It's pretty much known as an audio blog, right? It's an audio blog, and I'm going to pin something at the top, and I'll change it in the next 5 minutes. But I want you guys to first get this. If you've never clicked this link, this is a link to Wikipedia telling you about the history of podcasting, because it goes back to the 80s, right? If you look at this with podcasts, just look at the way it started. Look at the way we've come so far. We have come so far. So we're celebrating this today because one of the reasons why I'm loving this topic is because my podcast, We Don't Play Podcast, has been listened to in 117 countries. And these 117 countries have been listening to it for the past 5 years now. So thinking about a 5-year timeline, we're in season 9, episode 33, I believe. We have over 420 episodes, probably 430 episodes. And if you want to tap in, the link is above. So this is one thing that I believe you should be able to tap into and listen to, and how you'll know that it's global is by how you get responses, people connecting with you on the web, people connecting you online. These are great topics that you have to think about as a business and ask yourself, okay, where are we going and what are we doing with the information that we have? So we're going to be celebrating this, and how we're going to celebrate this is by showing you how to turn your podcast from being just local to being national, and then to being international. And going international and being international are great things that you have to, you know, to think about as a business long term, right? Like, what is your long term goal? And if you have a goal to go international, there are things you have to set up in place for that to happen. For me, when I started realizing that this was actually starting to happen and it was becoming a real thing, was when I started noticing that I needed to create a website specifically just for the podcast. Yes, the podcast, you can connect it to an RSS feed and it goes live and everybody can see it. It's great that way. But the the caveat to that is, if you have a website that doesn't have something specifically talking about the podcast itself, then you're technically going to miss out on a lot of information people are going to give you because you're not focusing on what they're searching for. So when you're creating a podcast, building a podcast, starting a podcast from scratch, that podcast is going to be a podcast that is going to turn heads. Let me say it like that, right? Why is it going to turn heads? Because you want to create demand and you also want to create attraction for that demand, right? Because we talked about demand and attraction yesterday. We talked about how do you create demand generating content, right? On demand content. So if you want to go international, that means you need to be on demand. That means people have to listen to you. You know, someone might be listening to you in another country, and all the 117 countries listening, thank you for listening. Because when you look at the numbers, you're like, how did all these things come? Like, where did all these people come from? The reason why these people are all here is because we all came together to talk. We all came to connect. If I wasn't featuring people, you know, or connecting with people, welcome Austin, then I won't be able to reach the people as much as I am now. So if you want to go international, the best way to do things is with a podcast. If you want to go global, like how will someone see your Instagram page? How will they see it if they don't know where exactly to go? And if they see it, how long are they going to stay there? And are they going to take action after they see it? Like there's so many roadblocks to sending somebody on an email to your Instagram or to your TikTok rather than sending them to your web page that has that information there. So you get first party data, you get first party access. Now, with podcasting, it's the same thing, right? If you send an email and you send them to your Apple podcast or you send them to your Spotify or send them to your iHeart, Pandora, SiriusXM, send them anywhere to those platforms instead of sending them to your website where you have a web page that can actually translate that web content because it's internet marketing, right? We're talking about international podcasting, right? So internet is part of international. That's what the word is called, international, but there's also international. I can put it like that, right? Because it's an internet reaction. There's an internet marketing involved, right? So if you're creating content for the people to see internationally, you need to be addressing topics that they can internationally relate to. That's another thing. So how can someone relate to your topics when they're internationally connected to you, or if they are connected to you internationally? That's a big thing. There are 117 countries that we connect with on a weekly basis. And it's so evident now that it's like they're drowning in so much information that they're actually like taking their time to go through it. I'll give you an example. An episode, let me just look at the analytics right now. When I look at the episodes that have been pushed, right, because we have over 420, 30 episodes out now. So when I look at the way people are listening to episodes, I'm noticing something. I'm realizing that when people are listening to episodes, they go back to some episodes that are like far back. Like somebody went to an episode about a fashion show long time ago. Somebody else went to an episode about why you're so passionate about branding. Here are 7 steps to build an impactful driven brand with Rich Kozak. I remember that one. You know, what are the differences between web pages, social media pages, and landing pages? You know, people are also checking out which other one? Yeah, Pinterest versus Meta ads. You know, so many episodes that are here. There's even one, you know, people are listening to far, far back, right? SEO marketing strategies for small and big businesses. So when I'm seeing people searching for these things, how writing works, how marketing works, it's telling me that these are the things people are interested in: traffic, engagement, foundation. This is an old art. This is something I did a long time ago. A Clubhouse room talk on can Pinterest help my business, right? The PGA that I did, Podcast Growth Academy. So those are episodes that have been done long time ago. And I won't say long time ago because that was this year, but there are some episodes I saw there that was 2020, that was 2021. So when you have all these platforms, all these websites, you know, connecting with you and you're also connecting with them, then this is where you start to understand that how you even make it relevant is by creating content that they can relate with or relate to. So if you know that they're they're connecting with you at a large level, then you have to also see like what exactly is, what is the value exchange, right? What is the value exchange? What is the value that you're actually getting from these people? Like, is it something that you're giving them information so they can learn from you? Or is it information that they're just going to, take in and go? So when you start realizing that that people are paying attention to your content, then your content becomes that international platform people get to connect with. Listening in from Lake Desire today. Where is that? I would love to know that is. Definitely. Yeah, I'm sure that must be a pretty nice space out there. So, we're enjoying the good vibes out here. And I'm hoping that you're learning something new, right? Because it's one thing to celebrate something and it's one thing to work towards the celebration, right? Because if you're celebrating something, you're giving people the ability to learn from you, right? And they're learning about how you were able to solve their problem at one particular time, right? I've spent all morning I've spent all morning, and I want to share this with you because I've been up since 5 a.m. Yeah, I want to share this with you. Okay. So I know that one of the things a lot of people have been asking about has been do, how do you just do things the right way when it comes to, hey, Soda, welcome, good morning. One of the things I've done is to create a schedule. In October, there are going to be workshops, six workshops, six workshops. Just think about that, six workshops. And all of them are addressing different things, right? And I'm going to mention them right now so that you just get to know the titles. But if you want to get more information, click the link above and you're going to get an email today so you can sign up. So, October 1st, tomorrow, we're going to talk about how to create your podcast schedule with SEO in mind. October 11th, we're going to talk about how to run local ads on digital billboards near you. That's my favorite. Welcome, John. That's going to be my favorite workshop. That one is a really nice. I've done them on Tuesdays and Fridays. Hey, John, how are you? Happy Monday.
Happy Monday to you too. All is well with my world. How about you?
I'm good. I'm good. And happy International Podcasters Day to you.
You've been waiting all morning to do that, haven't you?
I have.
Well, we got to have a day for everything nowadays, so might as well have one for that. So happy International Podcasters Day to you too.
Thank you. Thank you, John. Appreciate it. Yeah, guys, we are, we have a lot of great information for you to give, especially coming into October, right? This is the last day of the third quarter of 2024. Like, if you've not done anything new for the first time, this is the best time to start, because the world waits for nobody. Time doesn't wait for anybody. But if you can manage your time and capture information over time, in real time, you'll always be able to know what you're doing with your website, with your content. And that's what makes you go international, because it's not a one day fix everything, but that one day that you decide to do something good, The next day gets better because you're actually building a vision. When you're building a house, you don't know what's going to happen. You know you're going to have a house, but you don't know how long that house may take. It may rain, it may snow, it may, there may be a tornado, but at the end of the day, you would know that, okay, this accomplishment will be achieved whether come rain or sunshine because I value this. So I value you and I value your time. That's why I've created, these specific rooms and workshops that are going to be helping you get, more specific about how you create stuff. So October 11th, we're going to have how to run local ads on digital billboards near you. That's going to be at 9 a.m. to 10:30 a.m. Central Standard Time. And then on the next one is October 15th. That's going to be same time, but we're talking about Pinterest business, keywords, and marketing plan. So we're going to have a 90-minute session, and that workshop, I'll show you how to use Pinterest. I'll show you my back end, how it works, what tools to use, how to then do the research if you want to run ads, keywords, what's your marketing plan, how you going to run ads within zip codes. We're going to do the whole 9 yards. It's going to be very interesting. It's going to be like a hybrid of Pinterest and I'll say a little bit of AI, but Pinterest and advertising mostly. Then October 22nd is going to be, it's called Sweet Email Marketing Strategies. I call it SEMS. And that's where we're going to dive into email marketing, how you're going to send out the right emails, what tools to use, how do you test your emails, how do you make sure that you're not getting bounced emails or emails that are going beyond where they're supposed to be. They need to go to the right place, to the inbox and at the top of your feed. So this is something that would really help you too. That's October 22nd. And then October 25th, we're going to have the SEO. That's going to be another Friday, which would be great. It's how to set up your website for maximum SEO visibility. That's going to be another workshop, same time, but it's going to be on a Friday, October 25th. And then to end the month, we're going to have AI assistance plus staff management, how to build your AI team, how to build and establish your AI team, your artificial team. That's going to be a dope one. So that last one is going to lead into November's workshops. And then the ones that got most attention this month, next month, because we're going into October, I'll focus more on those workshops in November so you can have more in-depth workshops. Yeah, it's great to have workshops. I did the math. That's going to be, if I did all the workshops all together, because each of them are 90 minutes, right? That's about 540 minutes. That's 9 hours of content that you can binge outside. And of course, if you want extra time, then we'll have those extra times as well for you. So if you want to get those links, I'll just put the links here in the chat just so that you can have them. I'm going to send them through your email. So if you want it more specifically in your email, because Clubhouse, you can leave, you can come back in. But if you need to literally look at them right now, I'll just say like look at those first two. I don't want to flood the inbox, but you can have those two. At least those are the ones that are coming close. October 1st and the one that's October 11th. The one I sent you was October 1st and October 11th. Yeah, I sent you those first two. I don't want to send the next ones until we're getting closer. But if you get the email, you will get everything in there as well. So it's going to be very interesting. Podcasting, one of the reasons why also my podcast got to that global stand is because of Pinterest, right? Because in 2021, I remember very well, it was October 2021, that I said, okay, this Pinterest I've been talking about, let me actually, sorry, 2020, October 2020, I know it was October. So October 2020, I said, okay, let me use Pinterest to add on to what we're doing because I was like, let's create a Pinterest business account. It's never too late to create a Pinterest business account, but when you create it, there needs to be a reason why. So I created the account and then I started using that for the podcast, sending people, information, topics, getting to get that feedback. And then that also went international because you're touching on different bases. So LinkedIn is another piece that came into the puzzle, right? Because when you have LinkedIn and Pinterest working together, it's a great, great thing. Why? because LinkedIn and Pinterest are the only two, and I might be, yeah, correct me if I'm wrong, but those are the only two platforms I know that I'll call them hybrids because they're social media, but they're also search engines, right? LinkedIn and Pinterest, they're the only two platforms that I know that allow you to submit your RSS feed. Those are the only two platforms I know, because when you have the capability to submit an RSS feed, it means that you have a server. That just tells me technically how your servers are. Like LinkedIn has a great server, hosting server, right? So if they have something that great, Pinterest too, then they can manage a lot of information, and that's a lot of data points. So whether it's LinkedIn or Pinterest, we work with people at those two companies or at those two platforms or those two businesses. So it's easy to know exactly what's going on, and it makes it easier for you when you also connect with people. I'll give you guys like a quick hint. Something that I had a discussion with someone that I work with at Pinterest, sorry, at LinkedIn. And we were talking because we're doing a campaign for a client. And I don't know if you know this, but if you ever look at, if you're ever on LinkedIn and you see an ad and that ad has a more button, it says more. If you click on that more, you're going to be, I mean, it makes sense for you to click more because you want to learn more, but it's going to cost the advertiser more money, because when there's more, it means that they have to click through something, meaning that click has to generate some type of click, cost per click. That's what they say, cost per click. So that click, when they click on more, it's going to cost the advertiser more. So instead of having more, why not just have three different, advertising copies, and then all of them have one line each instead of one having three lines of text. So when you do that on LinkedIn, you're able to save more money. That's one thing I'll let you guys know now. It's a great thing that can help you long term. And if you're doing it, especially for advertising, take that into organic and see what that means too, as well for you. Because if you click more organically and it flows, that's great because people now actually stay on your page, right? But on paid, it's the reverse. If you do that, you're ending up more money because now it means they have to spend more time reading, more time clicking through, more time understanding it, than just having a one click call to action and then clicking through. Because when they click more, you're being charged, the advertiser is being charged. Then when they click your actual call to action on the button that says learn more, request this, that's another, advertising cost. So they're pretty much getting two for one. Actually, not really two for one. They're getting charged twice. Those are two counts. So if they're charged twice, then that means the advertising campaign may kind of have a lower average. So it's better to be much better having a thought process of creating content that will be more of one-liners. And then when they're one-liners, it helps you, advance that more. So why am I giving this example? Because when you go back to podcasting, when people are reading your podcast title, they want to get the context of that title before they click on play. So before I click play, I need to know exactly what I'm about to listen to. That is, if you're about to watch a movie, if I say Star Wars, you know exactly what I'm talking about. If I take Game of Thrones, you're not going to think Star Wars because they're two different movies. So the mood is set. There's a different mindset that's already like put to it. So if you're creating content that's internationally appealing, then using those lines of text, one line after each line, makes it easier for people to connect with you. And then over time, you start using question marks. Did you know? Uh, things like those would help you get further along when people are looking for information, because that way you're able to let people know, hey, there's something here, right? Yesterday, I was talking about billboards. And now, if you go on Google and type in traditional billboards versus digital billboards or static billboards versus digital billboards, the article I published yesterday is already ranking on Google. It's on the second page right now, but it's probably going to be on the first page by Friday, because I posted it yesterday and it takes about 48 hours to really get into the system. And then it starts comparing other things, because I talked about different kinds of billboards, right? There are traditional billboards, there are, LED billboards, there are digital billboards, there are 3D billboards, there are wallscape billboards, the interactive billboards. So I talked about that yesterday, and I will put the link at the top so that you can also get access to it too. Because if you're able to read it and this can help you, then this will give you more insight because it's really time. And I realized that not many people are talking about this online. So it was just perfect for me to bring it up. And people have been reading it now. So if you want to be international, you have to be on an international stage. How do you become international if they're not singing internationally? They have to see you somewhere on your phone, on a podcast, on a blog. When you have a website, that is the beginning of tremendous things happening for you because you have a place. Just like when you say, "Hey, do you have an address? Do you have," John, I just saw your post. You just, wow, that's a great publish. It just came on my LinkedIn. So it's perfect.
Glad you shouted that out. Thank you, man. That's the newsletter feature, which is
It's
phenomenal.
amazing. It's really, really good. You're welcome. And hey, Soda, good morning.
Good morning. Happy International Podcasters Day.
Thank you. Same to you. Happy International Podcasters Day. Definitely, this is a day for you too. You know, how do you feel like when you think about podcasting right now? Is it giving you more energy? Are you like, okay, let's keep going? What's the mood? Like, how are you feeling so far? Like January and now?
Yeah, I go back and forth, but I actually just did a live, an Instagram live about the benefits of podcasting and like how before it was like, oh, everyone is expected to have an Instagram, everyone is, and know the basics of taking pictures, and then TikTok came around, everyone's expected to have a TikTok and know the basics of short form video editing. And I think in the future we're going to just see like it's just normal for people to have a podcast, like even if it's only 3 episodes, just to have it on there. And yeah, I think like it's there's just so much, just like there's benefits to knowing how to take decent pictures. There's benefits to knowing how to do simple editing. There's benefits from podcasting, from learning to speak. I mean, when I first came to Clubhouse, like I was so nervous to ever talk, like and go on stage. And now I feel a lot more confident with that. And I think podcasting has definitely helped. Well, I think this helped get me to podcasting, then podcasting furthers it even more. And it just helps you be more confident when speaking to people like in real life too. So I just think it's just all around a great thing to at least experiment with.
Totally. It changes the game completely and it gives you more appeal because you have a listen score. Like not everyone has a listen score. We can listen to the trains, we can listen to the ambulance, we can listen to, a kettle, we can listen to anything. But if that listen score is paid attention to and you speak and someone actually takes action, then that shows a lot of responsibility for you. So you're so right on that too as well. So that welcome, Drew. We'd love to hear from you, John. What about your podcast? How do you feel like from January up until now?
Well, to be honest with you, between January and now, we have skyrocketed. So I'm hoping that trend continues on. Really, I focus on a lot of things. We went from a listen notes ranking of top 1.5% show to a 0.5% show between the time period. So hopefully we can make it in the point zero 0.09 or higher. But the challenge is always discoverability. Putting out content is one thing, putting out good content is another. But man, if you put out good content and no one finds you, no one can discover your content, you're not going to grow. So the real challenge is learning how to use the tools you have available, the free tools, and then also the organic tools. That's the ones that's going to make or break you. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Yeah, it's definitely the tools. Your tools have to make sense. It has to be something that is going to give your tools the leverage over time. And the moment you realize that your podcast and your show is something people look forward to listening to, And you also see the impressions based on what people are listening to per week. Then also shows how you connect with them also per month. And sometimes you can do sprints, because there are really no rules. Like this September, last in August, we dropped 19 episodes. This month, I think we're already over 25 episodes, and we're already like 31 episodes in the ninth season. And we started season 9 right after we hit 5 years last month on the 12th. So I see what you're saying, John. When you create the consistency of just dropping content, but also dispersing it and distributing it to people that have access to it based on RSS feeds, then that changes everything, because you can have a podcast and it's living on Apple and Spotify only, but your competitor is literally in places, looks and crannies that you would have never even thought. Places like Angami, places like GeoSavin, places like Podcast Index, places like Ivy. Like, you don't hear these things all the time, but they're out there, and that's a market share. Because when you start tapping into those market shares, it compounds. You know how they say every dollar counts? Every RSS feed counts. So the more counts you're getting on a compounded scale, if you have one episode and you have 30 links, meaning that you have 30 distribution channels for one episode, and your competitor has two, Apple and Spotify, and then you have yours plus your website included. That's strong, because now you're competitive at a high level, and that's why you also have a high domain authority, because the authority means that you have content that has information people actually pay attention to. How will the algorithm know that they pay attention to it? By the amount of time they spend on the screen. So if you have screen time, that helps you, right? Now we're helping businesses with digital billboards get there locally, internationally, internationally. If you know that you have top 5 cities that listen to your podcast, go to the top 5 locations that have a billboard and tell them to listen to your podcast. When they see you there, they're like, how did you know I'm listening to you here? Because they're paying attention to analytics. So if I'm seeing you there and I'm getting emails from or requests for proposals, RFPs from, companies, from cities, you look at the signature. Sometimes we don't look at the signature of the email, but if you look at the signature of an email and you look at the zip code, and that zip code is a great zip code that you can actually tap into, and that's connected to your business, then you can do so much. Right now, I'm talking with companies in San Francisco, because my top listened to state or city specifically is San Jose, San Francisco, and then California is the top state out of the 50 states that listen, followed by, let me see, Georgia, and then Texas, then Oregon, then Virginia, Ohio, Washington, Florida, Jersey, Carolina. It keeps going on and on and on. So before you get to the bottom, you've seen, okay, these are all the places. And in California, it's not just San Jose only. There are places I've never heard of, like Tustin, like Playa del Rey, like Porter Ranch, like Fontana, Oceanside, Anaheim. I've heard of Anaheim before. Hayward, Corona, uh, Brentwood, Pittsburgh, San Pablo, Burbank, like places I've never heard of, but it's long. The list is long. So how am I going to crunch all these numbers? Fullerton, I'm even seeing Fullerton there. That's where my mom did her PhD, right? So I'm like, okay, these are places I know. I don't know all the cities, I don't know all the places, but my podcast is getting there because I'm in those feeds, I'm in those looks and crannies. And that's what contributes to your international podcast strength. Because if someone likes your podcast, they're going to listen to your podcast when they're driving, when they're flying, when they're going to the bookstore, when they're going to the library. You don't know what they're doing when they're going to the park. Like Austin said, he's at the park today. He was by the lake. They said Lake Desire. So everyone is in different places. So you have to make sure that you're paying attention to those things. If you have music with your podcast, even better, right? If you have music that is internationally acceptable, by the end of this year, you're going to get a Spotify wrapped and an Apple wrapped. Look out for the genres of music people listen to. If you can tap into those genres and add that to your music jingle, you're literally, I won't say you're teasing them, but you're giving them something that they actually want. Because that way you're actually paying attention to their needs and you're satisfying them through topics that you're discussing. So podcasting is like it's a two-way street, but it's a one-way street when you don't care. And it's a two-way street when you actually deeply want to connect with the person that's actually connecting back with you. So thanks for that, John. Drew, Thanks for being here, man. We'd love to hear from you. What are your thoughts on the topic?
Hot topic. You dropped in. I'm taking notes. My hands are busy, guys. I know replays are on, but sometimes I get through a lot of writing. How's everybody today? Hope everybody's doing fantastic. You guys are dropping gems. You throwing out some good science behind that. Algorithms. I heard that. I'm learning. Different things you can do to get that listener score. I mean, these are just straight gems. I mean, anybody can go out and try something. You think you got a decent voice and you sound halfway decent, but having the science behind it is where you start to get the results and the tractions of what you have a podcast for in the first place, besides just having fun. Yeah.
Thank you, Drew. Yeah, I think for me, you're right on that because podcasting for me was a hobby initially. I didn't really take it seriously. All truth, like I did not take it seriously because I thought it was a hobby. I was really doing music. So I thought, okay, music is perfection, beats and bars, songwriting, publishing, metadata, and all those things. But podcast is a whole new world. But I've been on a radio before. I've worked at a radio station before, so I know how it works, but I need to know like how it really, really works. So switching over to, and I think then it used to be called internet radio. They've called them audio blogs. There've been so many names for them, but now it's podcast, iPod plus broadcast, coined by Steve Jobs in '05. And you see where your podcast is now, you take it seriously. Because in the beginning, I was not thinking, sponsorships or pre-rolls and mid-rolls. That was not even my focus. My focus was, is this mic on? Can anyone hear me? Can I say something? That was my true intention of making connections. And then from there, people started showing up. People started saying, hey, I want to be on your show. I'm like, okay, let's do it. I don't think I've said no to anyone on my show unless it was really bad. And that's probably like a 0.001% chance, but likely you will get on the show because I want to elevate your brand, your story, your business, and people's stories. I hear there's someone that connected with me on LinkedIn literally last week. He sent me 3 messages. The first one, I was like, this looks like a sales call. I was like, nah. The second one, it felt real. The third one, I felt like he actually typed it. And I was like, okay, let me respond. Responding, he picked up the call. Well, we got on a call last week, and then he's like, oh, I love your podcast. You're in season 9. There's some episodes. I was like, what episodes do you like? He told me, oh, I like this episode and this episode. The 2 people he mentioned that I featured are both in the same country. They don't know each other, but they're both from Australia. So I said, okay, it looks like you're tapping into Australia region. He's like, huh? I was like, yeah, those 2 people I featured that you mentioned you like are from Australia. So I'm going to connect you with one of them so that you can at least start there. And I'll connect both of them on LinkedIn. So I already WhatsApped the one in Australia saying, hey, his name is Aaron. He's like, hey, do you want to connect with this guy? I got, his name is Nicholas. He's like, yeah. So I'm connecting these people from a podcast episode. And now he needs help with his business because his website needs help with SEO. So now we're going to make sure that we can get his website connected and, put out there as well. So we're going to meet again tomorrow. Sorry, Thursday. Today's Monday. So that's just from a podcast episode. So if I didn't have an episode, we wouldn't be on that Zoom call. You wouldn't even know that I do this, or even know I have a knowledge graph, or even if it's a little line graph, at least a little sign, a little star to know that I have information. But if I didn't have the platform, how will I be able to say what I'm saying? I can't say that in a short or a reel. I can do that on YouTube, but I need a website to push that through. So if I'm on that platform and I'm supporting that and I have a community, I need to be off the app, off the website that you hang out on that you don't own, to a place that people can actually connect with you and you can control. That's why I'm very big on, digital billboards this holiday, because a lot of businesses need that exposure and they're spending money on ads, Google ads, YouTube ads, when they could just spend ads within a 20-mile radius and get enough calls to, keep the lights on and to keep business afloat and keep, business going by hyper focusing on the people who actually need your services and not just, hey, we have lemonade. There has to be some type of connection. So I really want to help people get that point. And if the question to you is the price. Yeah, this is how much the price is. But the cost is you've missed information yesterday, the day before, the last month, the month before. You don't have information. You have to wait till next year, September, to gather that information on your Google Search Console. Because when you connect when you turn the lights on, when you move to a new house, you don't start paying for, 3 months ago light. You start paying from the month after. They even give you a credit just to say, okay, here we go. Let's start the meter. And then from there, you start to pay as you go. So if you're thinking about your business, you have to keep the lights on by keeping your website active. You have to keep your website active by keeping your website relevant. How do you keep your website relevant? By actually adding pages. And when you add more pages to your website, you're getting more traffic to those specific pages. Because one page can tell someone about you, but 10 pages can let the search engines tell the people who you are. And then when you're running ads, you don't have to run ads on just plain sight. You can run ads to the top performing impression count, article. And then that article allows people to learn more about you. And then in there, you have goodies for them. You have links, you have videos. If you click this link up here, you're going to see 2 YouTube videos. One of them is in South Korea. The other one is in New York, in Seoul, South Korea. The other one is in New York, New York, or New York City, New York. So when you look at that, you look at those ads that were done. One of them is for water. The other one was by Coca-Cola. And you can see that how people interact with those brands. You can't forget that ad. You can't forget something you saw on a billboard. I remember the billboard John talked about in Florida. I think the one that says your wife is hot. You see, I don't have to like Google it because I remember that day that was talked about because it's like in your face. So if you have a commercial, a brand, a business that actually has something like that demands attention, but it's linked to a brand, it's linked to something that you can actually tell them, okay, yeah, this is funny, but this is the actual serious business. This is actually something we want to achieve. This is why we said this. There's the message behind this. And then it becomes clear, and then more people get to connect with you further. So you have to create things that are actually long standing and not just withstanding, if I can put it like that. So thank you so much for that, Drew. Billy, thanks for being here, man. What are your thoughts on the topic and what's coming to your mind?
Hey, what's up, Favour, John, Soda, Drew? Good to see you guys. Happy International Podcasting Day. Exciting day for podcasters. So, enjoy the space. Podcasting was my gateway drug to content creation. So, it has led me in a lot of fun paths since then. So, actually getting back into it a little bit, and a wife who told me you need a hobby. You can't just think and talk about work all the time. And so I was like, all right, I'll take the additional space I have here in my office and make a little podcast studio and revamp my Creating Daily show. So that's what I've been doing. So I've been moving gear around in one room a bunch of different ways and calling it a podcast studio. So it's been a lot of fun. But yeah, I love it, man. I think podcasting is powerful both in the personal sense of I started podcasting as a business in 2020 during the pandemic and planned it out, or actually 2019 as a hobby, and then went and turned it into a business in 2020 and kind of put it down for a while as I got into more video production, Amazon affiliate stuff. And now I'm picking it back up as a hobby again. So I'm coming full circle, man. Who knows? Might die happy one day. We'll see. But anyway, yeah, man, I love the conversation. Lots of possibilities with podcasting, and finding your audience or putting out stuff to target your audience. So really good stuff, man. Appreciate you having me.
Thanks, Billy. Appreciate you, man. It's I think it's the best way to start a business, with a podcast and a website. Website first, protect your assets and then scale by adding pages that you can translate through text, audio, and video. Because if you have a business, you have a brand, and somebody looks for your brand, or they look for something about your brand, and your brand is connected to a non branded keyword like chairs or sunroof or solar or something that is, based on your business. If you sell clothes, or what type of clothes, what material of clothes, what is the rate looking like? All those things will be factored in And ultimately that becomes, how people connect with you. And then you get to see where actually a lot of attention comes from. Because sometimes we don't know where people listen to podcasts. Like, I can't tell you where they listen to podcasts, not because it's just not known, but the majority of podcasts, it's like saying who listens to the radio. Okay, where do you listen to the radio? Mostly in the car. If not in the car, I mean, in this time and age, you might not really listen to a radio outside a radio, a car play for that. For let me put it like that. But that allows you to also know where people are audience wise. Like for me, I'm looking at my last 7 days of the podcast because we've been dropping episodes back to back every day just to see what's going on, because it's 5 years and because we were trying to do August and September, let's see how it runs through. In the last 7 days, Apple Podcasts has contributed to 42.9%, 23.2% went to web browser, 5.4% went to Pandora, another 5.4% went to Player FM, and here's an interesting one: 3.6% went to Amazon Alexa, and then 19.6 went to other. So when I'm seeing Alexa and Pandora, it tells me that people are in their homes, right, listening to the podcast. Because I did some studies, and iHeart did a report. No, I think it was Amazon doing it. Was it Nielsen? One of the companies, one of those research companies. And they said that 60% of the time when people are using Alexa, they're home alone, or no one's really home because they're just using it because they wouldn't talk to anybody else, but they'll, put it on the Alexa, put it on Amazon Alexa most times. So if that means 3.6% is contributing to Alexa and 60% of them are home around that time, then when they're home, what are they asking Alexa, and why am I showing up in the search results? That's the question that gets me going, because I'm like, okay, the last 7 days, I've talked about this, 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 and this. Out of these topics, which one had the most impressions? Okay, why did this one have the most impressions? So the more you're able to, do a 52-week calendar and then knock them down week by week, it won't look as hard as it looks now. Pandora, that tells me they're either in the car, because Pandora and SiriusXM, probably in the car listening, or you're home listening. So now I know people are either on the road or they're home. Apple Podcasts, they could be anywhere. Web browser, they could be home mostly because they're, at home. But if they're also out, then they're probably, connecting. So this already tells me where people would be. So when I now run ads where they're connecting, and let's say they go out and they're driving and they're using Pandora, and I know, okay, they're using Pandora, they're listening to me in the car, and they're in this location. In this location, this is the top most visited zip code. Okay, in this zip code, there's this highway. On this highway, there's this billboard. This billboard contributes to 2,500 people per hour. Okay, I'm going to use 5 hours in the day, do 2 hours in the morning, and do 3 hours in the afternoon or in the evening, or maybe split it up, do morning, afternoon, and evening. So do 2, 1, 2. So that's a checkmate. So by the time I'm looking at the whole, process, I know that you're creating content consistently. Hey, Carolyn, good afternoon. And Thomasine as well. Welcome to the room. You have to create that intentionality. So me just reading to you my analytics, like I've not done a report. I'm just looking at the numbers. I'm reading the signs. Like I'm just doing the math in my head, knowing that, okay, if this is happening this way, then this is what's causing it to create that reaction. So by doing it consistently, I know what episodes to touch base on. So the more you're able to see that you're getting people listening to you on Alexa, on Pandora, these are search engines. To be on Alexa is like trying to figure out how to solve a Rubik's cube. It's hard, right? But the moment you get it and it actually works, you'll be so happy. Like the smile on your face will be so huge, and you want to take a picture, you want to talk about it, you want to probably try again, because now you've challenged yourself and you've won that challenge. If you keep winning, 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 winning every time, it becomes easy. It actually becomes boring because you're not learning from your mistakes. You're not learning from losses. We're not perfect. I'm not perfect. So we strive to be, we strive for excellence, we thrive for excellence, But in the form of that, we're also learning and, drawing things down. So your goal should not just be to create a podcast so you can be international, because none of us, Billy didn't talk about international podcasting in his first year. John didn't think that either. Soda didn't think that either. I didn't. You know, True, I'm sure wouldn't think that either. Right. But we thought about impact first. And then strategy now came into play for the impact to happen. So if you want to go global, number one, have a website. I can't stress that. Like, have a website, even if it's a page, have a website, have a place that you can call home online. Like, I just can't stretch this any further. Your home is not your link tree. Your home is not your milkshake. Your home is not your beacons. Your home is not your Instagram. Those are homes for other people. They built those servers. They built those platforms. Your home is not YouTube. Your home is not Clubhouse. Your home is your home page on your web page, which is on your website, that has your domain that you bought, that you trademarked, that you created, that you registered, you incorporated. That's your intellectual proprietary information, not Linktree. So the faster you're able to realize that a website is what you need to go global, don't feel homeless so that we need we need to get you a home. Because if you're living and visiting in these other homes, what happens when that home shuts down or you can't access that house? Oh, Facebook is down. Then what? We can't go online. Yet there's a whole internet. It's called the World Wide Web.
And by the way, I got a good point favorite to drive that point home. The website chartable.com is sunsetting their operations on December 12th, 2024. So we're going to look for other alternatives to find, and they're moving in there to Spotify for podcasters. Will they do everything? We don't know. But we are using them to find out where we're charting in Apple Podcast charts, Spotify, other ones. Now they're gone, and what do? They're not gone yet. They're gone December 12th, 2024. If you don't have a home repository, um, your home website is where you control everything. Facebook, LinkedIn, those are all distribution points owned by them. They control them. If they go away tomorrow, you're stuck out in the cold.
Mm. And it's cold outside. It's getting cold.
Look, not where I am. I'm in South Florida, but yeah, some people it can get cold this time of year.
100%. 100%. Oh, I'm glad we're talking about this now. We have 5 minutes to go. And I wanted to make sure we can capture everyone's question. Soda, I want to come to you. How are you feeling after this talk?
Um, I'm remembering all the times I was homeless and just mooched off other people's homes. But then I couldn't get in their house because it was cold and snowing, and I had to sleep in my office. Um, and I'm like, this is symbolic. Um, so yes, I should probably figure out my own home for my website. And I actually did plan from the beginning to be international, just because of my job experience was very international. And so that's like what I planned in my head. So and I didn't think about the importance of having a website for um, that goal of being international. So that is something I am going to work on.
Can't wait to see that, Soda. Thank you. Yeah, once we realize these things and, push them to your site, you'll be so surprised. You'll be like, oh, this is what people want to hear. This is what people want. Then it becomes easier. Marketing becomes easier when you know what people want. When your child is crying for something and you know what they're crying for, you're going to give it to them. They'll stop crying, right? So when you're giving attention to something that requires attention, you're paying a you're paying attention to the detail. That detail is in the keywords, it's in the questions, it's in the if you have a consultation and you don't hear the questions being asked, how are you going to solve the problem being addressed? So you have to think about that. And that's why having a website is the most important thing to have in 2024, 2025. so that you can secure your information, capture data that you can use to not advertise back to them when they need your help because they're looking for information, but they don't know you even exist because they ask you, where's your website? You can't even get a grant if you don't have a website. You can't get some financial things if you don't have a website. Like how? Tell me how you want to skip that part. Even when you create a profile on, LinkedIn or Facebook, they say add your website. Then you add a link tree there. No, it's not your tree. It's not your link. It's not your page. It's not your website. You're just there until you start paying for it. Then you don't own it or you don't even have access to it. So please think about your website because once you have a website, things will get easier. Your life will be easier. When you have a home that you can sleep and you can feel comfortable, when you go out, you come back and you feel at home, that's the same feeling you want to feel online. It's just fact. Drew,
All day long. It used to be that when people had a website back in the day, right? You say, oh, a website might be a scam. He might be a scammer or whatever. But now, if you don't have a website, they think you're a scam. Nobody even gives you credibility without a website. Oh, you don't have a website? Oh no, she must be a scam. He's a scam. Off automatically. So a website has taken on this credibility litmus test. Without one, you're just not considered serious or legitimate. You're a hobbyist at best, and possibly a scammer at worst. So, absolutely.
don't want either of those at all. Not even in our peripheral, because we want to make sure we give you the best results. So thank you for that, Drew, as well. Billy, last words. We'd love to hear from you. Just going around the room.
Hey, I want to add something too, right quick on that, Faber, because one of the things we were talking about websites, but it's not just any website and just slap something up there. There's a science behind the websites, right? So people like yourself and people who consult on that can advise you as to what the best website is. Some people that have studied heat maps. Heat maps are where you can tell where people click, where they stop, where they're looking, where they're spending time, what they're doing. And those heat maps are critical to let you know how people are navigating. So your action buttons and your action places are designed that way. So that's what I know, Favor. You don't talk a lot about it. You're a very humble guy. You got a lot of power up under the hood. You got one of those big block engines up under there. People don't people don't know, because you're mellow. They don't think that a guy that's got a lot of energy and talks fast or talks loudly and promises a lot of things, even though they can deliver a lot of times, you know, that quiet energy, that quiet storm is right there. And having a person that can design that website so that it is a pleasant experience that people want to return to that website. People want to use your website. It's a catchy name. That's how you build over time and you get certain things done. So even though there's a lot of services out here, self-help, you can do it yourself. It's best to, even if you did it yourself, have some trained eyes and some skill set people that know how to navigate those special things on that website so that your home, it's like getting you something you can do DIY, right? At Home Depot, you can get the parts yourself, get all the materials and go do something yourself. But it's nothing like getting a finished work guy, a trained hardwood floor specialist that comes in there, and a trained stager or somebody that has interior design. Who would you want to do? Do your house yourself, or get one of the property brothers to come in and design that house for you, to lay it out like you did like you saw on one of your favorite episodes, to really really make your home like the best on the block or the best in the neighborhood, the best you've ever had. That's what you want to do with your website, in my opinion, is spend the extra time, a couple extra dollars, to make sure that home is the proper home and it's a dream home you can be proud of and invite anybody into and make them feel at home in your home, digitally speaking, of course. Yeah.
100%. Thank you so much for that. You're totally right. And I see you, Dominic, as well. Thanks for being here. I see Barbara got in too. Thanks for joining. And Lady, I see you in there too. Thanks for being here. We're about to wrap up, and I love that you mentioned that, Drew, because you know that if you didn't know this, then know this too, that there are 1.9 billion websites in the world currently. And 82% of those websites have not been updated in the last 6 months. Now we're talking about 9 months. We're going to the last quarter of the year. Now, if you reverse that and you look at the number of results that you're getting on Google, the lifespan of a blog is 4 months, 24 months, 2 years. So when you have an article that is ranking for 2 years, dominating the market, there's an article I just showed you up here, billboards, static billboards versus digital billboards. Before I wrote that article, I did research and I realized there are only 10 results on Google, 2 from 2024, 8 from 2023, talking about billboards in a whole website, a whole Google. I'm like, okay, nobody's talking about it. Let me bring this in. Chatter, same thing. I was talking about it on Google. I brought it up there. People are reading and they're learning more about the platform. Clubhouse, when Clubhouse first came, there were no articles. Clubhouse didn't even have a website at the time. They probably secured their domain, but they didn't have a website that was live. And I was writing articles about Clubhouse. That's how people got into Clubhouse when it was invite only. Even if you look at the screenshots, I've left some of them there so you can see like how old it looked, like the early days versions, to see how it looks. It's like a wayback machine. So if you do those things and you're giving people insights, they can learn from you, they can live with you, they can actually connect with you. So your link tree, again, is not your website. Your other platforms you're paying for, they're not. And I'll say these two things. One, if you get featured on a podcast, if you get featured on a magazine, if you get even featured on TV, and you tell and people ask you how can they connect with you, and you tell them go to my Instagram or go to my LinkedIn or go to my, you are missing the bus. Like that bus, it sounds like this because no one's in there, right? You've literally given Instagram free advertisement, then telling them go to my website.com where you can find everything there. And then when they all go there and listen to you, they connect with you. That's why even music artists, even though artists, you listen to them on YouTube, on Apple, they have websites. All this big artists, they have websites.com websites because there's merch. Kanye West did that example a long time ago. He did something with $20 of with clothes. I think he was dropping an album, and yeah, he was dropping an album, and everything was listed for $20. He used that information to get analytics from where he's getting the most. Like we talked about heat maps. Where is he getting the most hits? Where is he getting the most traffic? Then he retargeted that to the same people and got his money back. So the success leaves clues, guys. And if you're on Wikipedia, they're going to ask you for your website. If they ask you where to connect with you, it's your website. Your website, your website, your website. I don't think we've said website enough. It's your website because that's where people will start to connect with you first. Right now, we're building a website for a client, and she does, a lot of things, so many things when it comes to like, contracting, you know, medicine. Like it's a whole deep layer, and she doesn't have a website because people keep calling her and she's like, Favor, I need a place where people can just go to. And I'm like, here frequently asked questions. Instead of spending 10 minutes on the phone, spend 2 minutes and then send them to that link where they can spend 8. That gives you back your 8 minutes, which you can value and spend time with your family, your loved ones, while people are binging online consuming content that you produced years ago. So I don't know what's valuable, time or money. It's not the price, it's a value. If you value something, if you find it very sentimental, you will take care of it like it's your baby. If not, you can toss it around and it's a frisbee, and you don't want that for your business. So I'm glad we were able to talk about this. And if you have a podcast, use a podcast. And if you're not even a podcast host, be a guest. You can be a guest on my show. You're all welcome. If you have a business, we'd love to highlight you because it will highlight you and your business. So if you don't have a business, you don't have a website, it will be hard. We might just use your LinkedIn, but we want to make sure that at least you're seen and you're heard and you're also well, respected too. So this was a great room, and happy International Podcasters Day to you all listening. If you're a podcaster, if you're a broadcaster, including you too, Dr. Fashion, because she does a lot of great shows on YouTube. So you part of them too. So, and Billy too, because you're on Amazon as well. So big ups to you. You are all doing something that is casting, because the key word there is cast. It could be broad, it could be pod, but it's a cast. It's something that is pushed. It is when you cast to the TV, you're pushing it to the TV. So whatever you're doing it well. And I really appreciate you. God bless you for all the things that you're doing. And I can't wait to connect with you all. So have a blessed day. Enjoy your Monday. Enjoy the last day of September. And I'm gonna see y'all in October.